We need him to produce the way Tristen and Cam did at those guard spots. What UConn player is Dan Hurley talking about? Find out now. You're Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Little housekeeping for me, YouTube support, A+, amazing. I'd love to have all my subscribers download the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. It's equally as important for helping the channel and our Locked On UConn audience grow. So if you can do me two quick favors. First, click that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Then head over to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Hit the follow button. This way, you'll never miss a moment of Locked On UConn. Can't tell you how much your support means to me. It's everything. If you're tuning in from your car once you finish the show, or really anywhere you listen with an audio device, maybe you're listening on your phone, please drop us a 5-star review. Good reviews trigger referrals for similar shows where we can get some new audience members who are interested in more UConn content. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. With the playoffs over, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So who is this mystery player Dan is referring to? Let's talk about the two players he mentioned that we need production similar to. Cam Spencer notably came in as a transfer from Rutgers. We all know he could shoot. I think what really surprised everyone with Cam was his ability, not only his basketball IQ, his ability to rebound, especially offensively, his ability to handle the rock, his ability to get others involved in pick and roll, in flare screens, his ability to screen. If you watch any of the summer league game with Memphis, he cleared out an area of Walker Kessler so that Zach Edey could have an easy bucket. And that's just something that you just don't, you can teach it, but it's kind of like football, like, the Oklahoma drills. Like, you either want to get hit or you just don't. And Cam is like an old school football player. He seeks out contact. He actually got called for an offensive foul that I thought was started by the other player, but that's my bias, I'm sure. But I digress. So Cam Spencer last year, his production was 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists with efficiency, 48% from 2, 44% from 3, 91% from the free throw stripe. Now you look at Tristen Newton, a little less efficient, but still some more productivity. 15 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. So who is Dan Hurley looking at to create the same type of mentality or a go-to scorer in this offense? Look no further than Aidan Mahaney. Aidan Mahaney last year averaged 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists for a St. Mary's team that, while they don't run as intricate an offense as UConn, there are some similarities. Dan is looking for Aidan to mirror these ex-Huskies who are now playing in the pros. And I looked at a couple of quotes from him about, now that his culture shock is over, that he sees that we, run through these intense practices. There's no fouls called, the ability to kind of play through contact, which makes a lot of sense, like why they do this. And also, if you notice, it's very rare that UConn players complain outwardly about foul calls because you just don't get them in practice. Dan does. And I think that's by design, obviously. So they're looking for Aidan to leverage his abilities for this upcoming 24-25 basketball season. And if you look on UConn Twitter right now, just go to UConn's actual Twitter, at UConn MBB. The video they put out of Aidan, I think it's about 44 seconds. I can't show it. I haven't got permission for stuff like that. But I'm sure you guys can find it. He is exactly what they're talking about. He is a carbon copy. His shooting style is almost like, I was watching it this morning. It almost looks like Tristen's, but with a little bit of Cam's flair. So I can see exactly what Dan is saying when he believes he's got the skill set and the drive. And that's the reason why we got him here from a transfer portal recruiting perspective. He came in and was blown away by the intensity of the coaches, and he is going to make a huge impact. I am so looking forward to Aidan Mahaney. I know everyone's really high on Solo, as am I. Jalen, I think that's the thing is, if we did one player and did a 7 or 8 minute segment every day until the season started and just kept going back and bringing people in and talking about their skill sets, we would have, I don't think anybody in UConn Nation would have any issue with that. So if you watch Aidan's style, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind when I watch him is his pace of play. He doesn't look like he's in a hurry. He is absolutely probing the defense. So that reminds me of the way Cam and Tristen went to the basket. Under control, the ability to finish through contact, the ability to handle the rock with ease. I think he's putting on a little weight. He looks a little bulked up. I have no idea if that's the case. It could totally just be my eyes playing tricks on me, but he looks a little bigger than last year when I watched him at St. Mary's. I'm more surprised at watching some film at his handle, at the ability to shake people. I think he's quicker than what people will give him credit for, and that's fantastic to me. To their detriment, if you go in and you think Aidan's one player and he essentially proves you wrong right from the start, you're in for a long night. I think he has the type of versatility that they're excited about, because there's some video of him playing with Ahmad, playing against Ahmad, playing with Solo, playing against Solo, where you don't necessarily have, and Hassan, I'm sure as well, where you don't necessarily have to have him on the ball. But if they need him to be that playmaker at the end of the shot clock, like St. Mary's did, he's very comfortable in that role. So I think the focus right now is just integrating him into UConn's system effectively, drawing on strengths and techniques that have previously brought success to this team. It's it's the type of move that it was not under the radar, because everyone was all over it, whether it was him or Kobe Brea, who was going to commit first, et cetera, right? But now that we're in the crux of the season, Liam McNeely's here, a lot of recruiting stuff. People are talking about Malik Thomas for the next season. But if we take a step back and look at probably the best transfer to go in the portal, I'm talking ready-made 13, 14 points a game right off the bat. And if you think about it from the perspective of, he scored almost 14 points a game at St. Mary's, and this is no disrespect to St. Mary's, but it's a slower offense. I know we run a slow-paced offense, but I like to use the phrase methodical with UConn more than slow, because if you watch it, there's nothing slow about the pace of which the offense flows between back screens, the way pin downs, horn sets, the ability to get action out of pick and roll, utilizing the bigs up top. I just think if you look at some of the pocket passes that Aidan made in these videos in practice, I think UConn is in for a treat watching Aidan Mahaney, and I'm looking forward. So keep an eye on Aidan as he works to embody the playing styles that could help UConn get to that new height, which is that third straight national championship. Well, when we return, we're going to talk some old school stuff. We're going to bring in Marc D'Amelia of the D'Amelia Collective and talk about Stars of Storrs, the TBT, and all things that are happening starting next week, coming up after this. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs are basically over, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up a bet anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com, start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, we're back on Locked On UConn. As promised, we were going to talk about the basketball tournament, the TBT. For those who aren't familiar with it, there is a team coming out of UConn, the Stars of Storrs. And here to talk about it is Marc D'Amelia. let's bring him in right now. Let's unmute him and bring him in. Let's go. How you doing, Mark? How's it going?
I'm great, Mark. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. So tell me about how this started. So for fans that don't know the TBT, this tournament's been involved or been around for 10 years. It's probably, I think it's the 10th anniversary. So first, tell fans about it, because for a hoops head like me, I wanted UConn to get involved for the past 10 years. So how did this come about?
Yeah, it came about where someone reached out to me on Twitter and tagged me and the TBT, which is the basketball tournament, is the acronym for TBT, and said, you know, I'm sure, I'm not obviously, but I think people know that I try to do a lot with the collective and UConn. So someone just said, hey, I think it'd be great for Mark to get involved in TBT. And I was like, I would love to. And TBT reached out to me directly, Jake, who runs marketing over there, and he's out in LA. He said, we'd love for you to do a team. And then we ran into a little bit of a situation because I think Rip Hamilton had been talking with them the year prior and wanted to do a team. So then I backed off for a second. And then basically they said, hey, we really want you to do it. And I was like, great, let's do it. So
that's great, man. Like, the more the merrier. I think what's crazy too is, like, when you look at the tournament itself, it's, for people that don't know, there's a lot of international players. Like the team that won the first 4, I think, TBTs is called Overseas Elite. I don't know if they're still around, but collective of overseas players that didn't make it in the NBA. But there's a lot of players and stars that kind of have come back. And let's talk about the current team. First off, you have probably the greatest basketball player of all time, UConn alum with you, a fellow grad, Chris Smith, being the coach, and his son also coaching. So talk about how you got Chris Smith involved, UConn's all-time leading scorer, and some of the players to kind of drill down from there.
Yeah, so I knew Chris. We weren't very close on campus when we were going to school. I mean, he was the big man on campus back in when I was there in the late 80s, early 90s. So, but we got close over the last couple of years as I got more involved in going up to Storrs and having season tickets at Gamble. And we've struck up a really cool friendship over the last few years. And I was talking to him about it, and you know, he's like, I'd love to coach. I said, I think it'd be great, man. You're the leading all-time scorer in UConn basketball. You put us on the map. I tell him this all the time. There's probably not a Ray Allen or a Rip Hamilton, a Kemba Walker coming to UConn without him leading the way.
No, without a doubt. I'm excited because, you know, we've had Chris on the show. He did a quick thing for us back before the NCAA tournament started, talking about being a 1 seed and playing close to home. So I appreciate Chris for that. So I'm really looking forward to him coaching on the sidelines. But talk to me about these players. If you look at our team, you have, let's look at this roster, right? You have mostly all UConn guys. I know that again, for people who aren't familiar, just because a team is made up of UConn alumni doesn't mean it's all UConn former players, right? You have a couple of sprinkled in players from different colleges or playing overseas. But I mean, familiar names: DeAndre Daniels, Jeff Adrien, Jerome Dyson, Joey Calcaterra, famously known as Joey California, right? RJ Cole, Rodney Purvis, Ryan Boatright. Talk to me about how this collective of players came about. What's that process look like? Is just recruiting them and seeing if they're interested? How did it all go down?
Yeah, I think what the fans and the public should know is it's difficult to field a team when you're UConn, because you think we have this huge pool of players, but we have guys that are household names, which are just they're a little older, and it's got to be, TBT has told me, everyone's got to be in basketball shape, or they risk getting hurt. So, guys that are household names like a Jake Voskuhl, can't probably play at this point. Even like we have Tyler Olander as our one of our coaches, and I'm like, we need some depth inside and to bang around. Can you still play? But he's going to be a coach. So you have you got to be in basketball shape, right? And then you can't be playing currently in the NBA or in the summer league because of, the Bulls don't want Adama Sanogo getting hurt playing in the TBT. And I've texted Adama, and we have a pretty good friendship. And he's like, "I'd love to play, Mark. I really want it." So he actually talked with his agent and everything, and wasn't able to play. And then there's guys like Niels Gaffey, who is potentially going to play in the Olympics for Team Germany. And then there's guys that just played in Europe that are banged up. We definitely, so the pool of players that you think, and we're still jockeying for some guys. I mean, obviously I posted on Twitter, with Rudy Gay. So we'll see what happens with him. But I think one of the issues we're facing is it's our first time doing it. We didn't hold back at all with the quality of what we're doing, from the sweatshirts, the sweatpants. The team's going to look great. We got really great hotel rooms. We have a bunch of events set up. We're heading to Gamble for a closed practice this year. Cool. So I think this is the year, although we're in it to win it, and I think we got a great chance to win it, this is the year where we really set in motion the plans. And I know as soon as this podcast comes out and the press comes out, there's going to be people, once they see what we're putting together, that are going to want to be part of it for years to come.
Awesome, man. No, it's a great breakdown, because, when it first came out that we were going to do this, I started to kind of, poke around and be like, who could we get? Like, who are the guys that are playing overseas that, might be interested? And Niels was one. But then, of course, it's an Olympic year. So, if he's playing for Germany, that's a fantastic reason why he wouldn't be on the TBT team. So, appreciate you breaking that down. Before we get into the next segment of talking about, you guys are a 1 seed, which is UConn's no stranger to being a 1 seed in a tournament. So that's really cool. Tell people where they can see everybody play. Like you mentioned a closed practice at Gamble. Obviously you can't go to that, but it's in Norwalk. Are there practices people can go to, or events that you can do? Can you share a little bit of that, or is that still up in the air?
No, it's all solidified. So Sunday night, we already have flights. Everyone's coming in. RJ Cole's coming up from New Jersey. Everyone else is flying in. The only one we got a little bit of an issue is AJ is still in Europe, and he's having a little trouble getting back. So we're working on that. Monday morning, we have a team breakfast, and then we run over to McMahon High School. Our first practice is closed at McMahon High School in my hometown. I'm in Norwalk right now. Monday night is a really special event. It's at Washington Prime. It's not a cheap place to have an event, and we want to raise money, so the tickets are still available. And it's on my Twitter account if you want to buy a ticket. But we have the president of the university is coming, the head of trustees is coming, the head of the foundation is coming. Tom Moore is going to be there. We got a ton of coaches. Moore is out of town, and I got a maybe from Dan Hurley, so I'm not promising anything. So maybe Hurley will come. But 2 basketball coaches, a couple football coaches. Mike Cavanaugh is a hockey coach. We're inviting 15 of our collective players to come, and those will be separate NIL appearance deals for them. So we're trying to keep everything all in the family. Tuesday, we take a charter bus up to UConn for a closed practice at Gamble. We didn't have enough time. There's security issues and operational issues to get it open. So next year, when we do it at Gamble, we'll do an open practice. Hopefully we'll do it the whole tournament on campus at Gamble, at least the first round. And then we have anybody can go to Ted's Tuesday night at 5 o'clock after practice. The whole team will be there getting dinner. Wednesday, we have an open practice at McMahon High School. Tickets are available. Check the McMahon Athletic Department or my Twitter to buy a ticket there. That's $25 ticket. And the guys will be available. And then Wednesday night is an event at O'Neill's in Norwalk. That's an open, free event. You got to buy your own food, do whatever, but the team will be having dinner there. And I think the foundation's going to be involved in that. And then we get on a charter bus Thursday morning of next week, and we head to Pittsburgh.
Awesome, man. Well, we're going to talk about who you're playing in Pittsburgh, the bracket breakdown coming up after this. Quick turnaround. We're back with Marc D'Amelia of D'Amelia Collective, the NIL Collective for UConn, and the sponsor of Stars of Storrs. Quick, before we get into the bracket breakdown, tell people where they can buy the Stars of Storrs merch. Obviously, UConn fans love to support their teams. We were the #1 NIL store in the country, so I guarantee you, if you talk about where people can find it, you'll definitely get some sales off of that. So feel free.
Yeah, I think so. There is the TBT. I would go to the TBT's website, and they have Stars for Storrs page where you can buy merch, and those proceeds go to them. We have limited runs of the same hoodies that the guys are going to be wearing in and out of practice that we're probably going to put on the Stars of Storrs website soon, and we'll get that rolling. But we've jumped through, got this whole process done from logo to practice to all these, to coaches to team. I mean, it's basically happened over the last 6 months. So yeah, it was pretty exciting whirlwind of events.
I would imagine, man. It can't be easy to put all this together. So I as a UConn fan, I am super appreciative that you were willing to step in and do it. So thank you for that. Let's talk about this bracket. So I have to say, like, some of these teams that you could potentially play. If we just do kind of like an overview, the people in your bracket, you have the Pittsburgh alumni team on the other side, could potentially play them in it's a 64 team bracket. So we'll use the tournament terminology. So kind of an elite 8 game. You have West Virginia's alumni also on the other side, but on your side, I'm not familiar with the first team you're playing. It's called Herkimer's Originals. It looks like a bunch of a team of guys who are maybe played more Division II, maybe played some overseas ball. And then if you win that game, you have a potential matchup with Penn State and their alumni team, and Dubai's Dream, or Du Bois. I think that's a minor league basketball team. So it's an interesting mix. Talk about kind of what the UConn fan can expect from this tournament.
Yeah, it's hard because it's not like you're going against a team in Division I basketball where you've either seen them play, or like when we go into the Big East, you know the guys on Providence, the guys on Seton Hall. So it's all up in the air as far as who these guys.
Kind of froze.
Mark, did it just go?
You froze a little bit. You're good, man. You started. Are you still there?
Yeah, I am. It kind of went off for a little bit.
Yeah, you're good, man. You were talking about how it's a little different than playing in a Division I.
Yeah, because we don't know. Once we get to hopefully when we get to West Virginia or Pitt, then you'll kind of know more of the guys. But I'm sure. I mean, that's the coach's job to do their diligence on these guys. I'm excited. I mean, one of the things I think we've all thought about even before TBT is, like, what if players from different eras of UConn started playing together? So to see, Ryan Boatright and Joey Calcaterra, or RJ Cole and Jerome Dyson, is just going to be really, really cool. And, I just saw some highlight where RJ Cole scored 40 points in a game, and Ryan is hungry and is excited about this. So I can't speak as much for the other teams as I can. Jeff Adrien's a bruiser, and I love our team. And look, I wish we had a little bit more depth in the center position with either a Hashim Thabit or somebody like that, but. I think we have enough weapons to get to Philadelphia.
So let me ask you how this works, because as far as the operational aspect of the TBT, like, is your roster set, or how can you add players as time goes on? Like, how does that work?
Great question. It closes Monday the 15th, so we have to have a full roster set. So we just added. We wanted to keep it mostly, we want to keep it all UConn guys, but ultimately we also want to win, and we want to be able to be successful. So Chris Smith Jr. had a relationship with somebody from who I'm sure UConn fans will get to know, from Baylor. We just got a young man from Indiana. And then we have till Monday. So I'm hoping over this weekend, someone like a Rudy Gay will say, he's in Maryland. I'm like, dude, just drive up, hang out, come in, and then we got to make a decision. I have to let TBT know on Monday who else we get. I've also have her back room, but reached out to Kemba Walker too. So I have both. I text both. I've been texting Rudy a lot, and these guys played 20 years in the NBA, but I think this is going to be special, especially for guys like that to come back to UConn, to come back to Gamble, to put on. Obviously, it's not a UConn jersey, but it's a UConn alumni team. I think it's going to be special. And I think guys that aren't coming are going to regret it, because I think this first inaugural team is going to be really special.
No, I appreciate it, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on and kind of talking about something that UConn fans can look forward to. I mean, I know we're all pumped about the men's and women's teams, and then there's UConn football coming up. So it's just a nice appetizer, if you will, for fans to kind of as we get closer to regular season action, both on the football and the basketball side. So really appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for getting this organized.
Great, Mark. Thanks again, man.
Thank you so much. That was Marc D'Amelia of the D'Amelia Collective, NIL Collective. Really appreciate him coming on. I absolutely was super psyched about this TBT aspect. Before we run out of here, just to let you guys know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now also available on the Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering all the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected, make sure your toughness meter is always rising, and as always, go Huskies.